government is set to bring changes to the contentious Waqf Act, which will redefine the powers of the Waqf board. Sources are now telling Times Now that the Union Cabinet approved at least 40 amendments to the Waqf Act. Now, as per the proposed amendments, claims on properties made by Waqf boards will be mandatorily verified, and even disputed properties of Waqf boards will have to go through verification process. So like we've been telling you, tomorrow possibly these changes could be proposed and this bill could also come up in Parliament, and that will lead to expected fireworks, as we are also listening to the political commentary around the news of the Modi government's decision. Now, what are these powers that the Waqf board enjoys, and what are the changes that the bill proposes to bring about? Let's break this down graphically for our viewers, and you can see the data on your screens. Let's also tell you what's expected to happen. The bill, as per sources, the bill proposes to bring about a clause that will ensure that the Waqf, which currently has powers to lay claim to a property solely on the basis of what many say is its own thinking, it won't be able to do so anymore. So there won't be any arbitrary declaration of Waqf properties. There will be scrutiny and process and verification. What's the other amendment that could possibly, take place? That is, all claims made by the Waqf board will be now subject to verification. Another proposed amendment that possibly has been cleared as per sources is that there will be a provision to ensure representation of women in state Waqf boards. Now, what we are also hearing is that certain outdated provisions of the Waqf Act will be repealed, and disputed land will also have to be verified. Let's listen to some reactions that are now coming in. We have the Congress party reacting. Then we'll also let you know about how the allies of the NDA are responding to this big news break that's coming in today. Let's listen into the Congress's reaction.
Issues with the management of the Waqf. It's not that there haven't been issues. Okay, there have been encroachments by people. There have been properties that have been misnamed as Waqf, as well as properties that are Waqf that have been taken over by people. Don't really know what is it that the government wants to change. See, any bill that comes up always had a purpose and a spirit of a bill, and then it is translated into the various provisions of the law. In this case, first of all, why does the government want to modify? What are the provisions they are bringing in? That is something we need to see. Problem with the BJP is that whenever they indulge in any administrative or legal issue or regulatory issue, when it concerns communities that they normally target because of their politics, especially their communal politics, we find that it is communalism and their political gain that becomes more important than the merit of what they want to bring in. And very often we have seen that.
सालों से भारत में सारी संपत्ति वक्फ बोर्ड के अंडर आती है कहकर मजे कर रहे थे। जो वक्फ बोर्ड का नाम लेकर संपत्तियों पर कब्जा करके बैठे थे, जो कब्रिस्तान की जमीन को भी छोड़ने को तैयार नहीं थे। कोई भी भारत की संपत्ति भारत के अंडर में आनी चाहिए ना, किसी एक पर्टिकुलर कम्युनिटी या किसी एक पर्टिकुलर व्यक्ति के हाथ में कैसे रहेगी? ये कांग्रेस की देन है जिसने वक्फ बोर्ड को मजबूत किया।
So viewers, over the years there has been a discussion around the unfettered powers that the Waqf board enjoys under the 1995 Waqf Act. Now let's tell you about why these amendments have been proposed and why this debate has been ongoing. Because in the year 2009, the Waqf, which had 4 lakh acres of land, that number doubled in the year, and as of now the number has come up to 8 lakh acres plus, and this is as per reports. So what can we say? The Waqf Board of India is possibly one of the biggest landholders in the country, coming number 3 after the Defence Forces, the Indian Railways, and the maximum number of land after that is possibly owned by the Waqf board. Now, when it comes to the land owned by forces, how much is it? It is 17.99 lakh acres or 7,280 square kilometers. When it comes to the land owned by our railways, it is 12.09 lakh acres or 4,860 square kilometers. And when it comes to the land owned by the Waqf board, as per reports, it is, as of now, 8 lakh acres or 3,237.48 square kilometers. So possibly the third largest landholder in India is the Waqf board. How did the Waqf get this much land? So let's tell you about the 1995 Waqf Act, which gives this power to the Waqf board. If it believes that there is a certain land that is the Waqf property, it can lay claim to it. And if the owner of that land goes ahead and disputes that claim, he will have to do it before a Waqf tribunal and not the Supreme Court or any other court. And if the Waqf board is not, or the tribunal is not convinced that that land which has been claimed by the Waqf board is not in fact owned by the other person who is in dispute over here, then the tribunal's decision is binding. So let's get you more reactions that are now coming in. What did the LJP say? Is the LJP for this? Let's listen into Chirag Paswan.
एक बार प्रस्ताव सामने आ जाए, उसको पढ़ लिया जाए क्या है, उसके बाद क्योंकि अभी ये जानकारी सामने आ गई, तो एक बार ये सारी चीजें आ जाएं कि उसमें क्या क्या उसमें प्रावधान किए गए हैं, किन किन चीजों में बदलाव किया जा रहा है, एक बार उसको पूरी तरीके से पढ़ लिया जाए, उसके बाद पार्टी अपना रुख इस करेगी.
So on expected lines, Mohit, the very news of the decision to bring about amendments in the Waqf Act has actually caused flutter in the political circles. The opposition is accusing the BJP of doing this deliberately, keeping the UP bipoles in mind. Now, the other thing that they are asking is, why doesn't the NDA or its allies, why don't they come ahead and clear their position on this decision that the Modi government is set to take, that is trying to curb the powers of the Waqf board? What's the latest you're tracking, Mohit?
Well, you see, in fact, if we talk about the BJP ministers or the senior leaders, they are also not coming out clearly on this particular issue, because they say that this demand has been coming in from a long time, and when the bill will come in the parliament, then only they will be able to speak on this. But yes, BJP spokespersons have reacted on this, and what the BJP actually says is that this demand also came up during the UPA regime, where various Muslim organizations also, in fact, various Muslim families have also come out and they have stated that in past there have been several precedents, several examples when Waqf board have acquired their property. Now, what exactly is the main contention or the main point of this particular bill? Now, the bill basically says that the arbitrary powers of the Waqf board will now be curtailed. Now, what are these arbitrary powers? This bill, according to the sources, say that Waqf board can stake claim to any property in the country which they feel that they have papers of way back of how many years, or they believe that they can undertake that particular land. That will be not possible from now after this bill comes. Now, the sources say that every single claim of Waqf board will be verified, that whether they have substantial claim on that land or not, whether they basically have any claim on that land, whether they have papers, and when exactly these papers will be issued, and also the district magistrates of several districts of all across the countries will also look into this particular matter. According to the sources, they will be looking for the verification. The verification part is the most important part of this particular bill, that every single claim of Waqf board will be verified. Now, further details will come out, but as of now we have got this, that the bill will be tabled in the parliament. So we have to wait and watch how exactly the allies of the BJP will react to this.
Sources are saying this very decision has been taken by the Modi government to ensure verification, to ensure accountability, and to ensure transparency. Because the criticism of the powers enjoyed by the Waqf board has been so far is that it is unfettered. They have asked this question that in a secular country, how can a religious body have this kind of power where it can go ahead and lay claim to the property of any individual, any Indian? And that Indian can be from any community. How can they go ahead and lay claim, and then it cannot be even challenged before the court of the country, and it can only be challenged before the Waqf tribunal? what are the contentious clauses that have now come under question? Let's break it down. The demand so far has been that this Waqf, which enjoys possibly a special status of going ahead and laying claim to land, that special status should be now ended and everything should be done as per process and verification. Section 43 of the Waqf Act 1995, what does it say? It says that if a board has any reason to believe that any registered property of the trust or a society is Waqf, then it can initiate inquiry. So this is one clause. What does it again go on to say? It says that Waqf can then call for registration of such a property under the Waqf Act. Let's talk about the other aspect of it, which is Section 43 of the Waqf Act of 1995. It goes on to say that the Waqf board can call for a show cause as to why such a property should not be so registered. So there is another clause in the 1995 Waqf Act is Section 54. In case of encroachment, the Waqf CEO will serve a show cause notice and conduct an inquiry. Let's go across to the next provision. It goes on to say that if the Waqf CEO is satisfied that the property is Waqf, he may ask the tribunal to order an eviction. So these are some clauses that people have questioned over the years. Then as per Section 54 of the Waqf Act in 1995, if they refuse to evict the property within 45 days, the board can in fact take control of the property. Section 101 of the Waqf Act of 1995 goes on to say that the survey commissioner, members and officers of the Waqf board are deemed to be public servants. This is another contentious clause. Section 107 of the Waqf Act of 1995 goes on to say that nothing contained in the Limitation Act of 1963 shall apply to any suit for possession of immovable property of the Waqf. Now, another clause, which is Section 4, Section 5, Section 6 of the Waqf Act, what do they go on to say? They go on to say that the state may appoint survey commissioner and additional and assistant commissioners for the survey of the Waqf land. So all in all, there have been questions that have been raised. Now let's also once again tell you about what are these unfettered powers that people have constantly questioned, debated, and in fact raised the very demand of even going ahead and repealing the Waqf Act of 1995. And right now, what is set to happen is that these powers could be curbed a little. It could be limited. There will be transparency. There will be accountability. There will be, a question of verification. Udit Raj is joining us on the phone line and we'll also break down these acts of the Waqf Act. Udit Raj ji, sources की तरफ से ये खबर आ रही है कि जो कल पार्लियामेंट में एक ऐसा बिल आने वाला है which will talk about curbing the powers of the Waqf board. इसके बारे में आपका क्या कहना है?
Unless until we know that provision, what are the provisions are going to be brought in the bill. So difficult to make any comment, and how can I guess that what are the changes going to be brought into?
Okay.
But for
yes,
one thing very clear that of course वक्फ बोर्ड की जो संपत्ति होती है स्वयं इच्छा से दान दी जाती है, जो भी जमीन जायदाद होती है, और फिर बोर्ड बने हैं उसकी रखवाली के लिए बनेगी.
Mr. Udit Raj, but in the past there have been instances where people have raised questions over encroachment by the Waqf board. Please stay with us because we also have Dinesh Sharma of the Bharatiya Janata Party joining us. Dinesh Sharma जी, बहुत-बहुत शुक्रिया हमसे जुड़ने के लिए. वक्फ बोर्ड के जो अनफेटर्ड पावर्स की बात की जा रही है, बहुत दिनों से इस पे चर्चा हो रही है, इस पे डिबेट हो रहा है. कुछ लोगों ने पहले कहा था कि इसको कंप्लीटली रिपील कर देना चाहिए. अब हमें ये पता चल रहा है कि 40 ऐसे सोर्सेस के हिसाब से 40 ऐसे अमेंडमेंट्स लाए गए हैं 1995 वक्फ एक्ट में. इस पे आपकी क्या पहली प्रतिक्रिया है?
देखिए, पहली प्रतिक्रिया तो यही है कि वक्फ की संपत्ति का संरक्षण ठीक से हो सके और उसका उपयोग समाज के हित में हो सके. दूसरा, वक्फ के नाम पर किसी भी संपत्ति को अपने बताने का क्रम, उस पर अंकुश लगे. तीसरा, जो असीमित पावर के अंतर्गत जो रेमेडी किसी की संपत्ति को आप बता दें कि वक्फ की है और उसको कोई न्यायालय से भी ना मिल सके, बल्कि उसको उन्हीं के पास में जो लोग संपत्ति एक्वायर कर रहे हैं उन्हीं के पास में उसको वक्फ बोर्ड के पास में ही अपील करनी हो, इस प्रकार से एक न्याय की जो व्यवस्था है वो कहीं ना कहीं शंका के घेरे में आती है। वक्फ की संपत्ति से सरकार को किसी प्रकार का आपत्ति नहीं है, वक्फ से किसी प्रकार की आपत्ति नहीं है, लेकिन जो संपत्तियों का आज दुरुपयोग शुरू हुआ है, रियल एस्टेट में तमाम बजाय गरीबों के लिए कोई उपयोग करने के तमाम जगह पर रियल एस्टेट में संपत्ति को इन्वॉल्व कर देते हैं और किसी की संपत्ति किसी को भी बेच देते हैं। तो ये एक प्रकार का अधिकारों का दुरुपयोग है, वो रुकना
अधिकारों का
चाहिए।
दुरुपयोग। दिनेश शर्मा जी बने रहिए। कांग्रेस के उदित राज भी हमारे साथ है। मिस्टर राज, you heard what Dinesh Sharma said, and it is no secret there have been cases in the recent past about complaints of encroachment, of misuse of Waqf land, and this bill will only ensure that there is transparency and verification. So there should possibly be no opposition, don't you think so?
See, unless until we know the changes, suggested changes in the Act, in the vote, how can we make any comment? One. And second, that if there are some fringe cases, definitely that should be looked into. I think there is a mechanism, the courts are there, mechanisms are there to curb such things that, of course, it cannot encourage other properties. And of course, unless until we see all those suggested changes, we can't make
But
any...
do you think outdated provisions in the Waqf Act, which give about what many call as arbitrary powers to the Waqf Tribunal, do you think they should be curtailed and there should be a more transparent process?
And what I understand about Waqf Board property is that the properties which are willingly donated to the board, and of course the proceed out of that, whatever they may be, has to be applied for social purpose.
So let's actually wait and watch. That's what the Congress is saying. They need to go through these amendments. They need to go through the bill that possibly is likely to come up as early as tomorrow. Thank you, Mr. Dinesh Sharma and Udit Raj, for joining us this afternoon. But we're also getting a fresh reaction that's coming in from the Bharatiya Janata Party. And after that, we'll also once again break down those clauses that have always been debated, because of which many have said that the Waqf Board enjoys unfettered powers. Let's listen into a reaction from the BJP.
Well, what the cabinet has decided, it's not yet very much there on the public platform. But as far as the Waqf Board goes, well, you see, this demand has been pending for the last 30, 40 years. I mean, lakhs of, forget about other families, I'll say lakh of Muslim families are only demanding that Waqf shouldn't be given such rights that they can just claim any property they want to. So this is a pertaining demand, and anything which is for the betterment of the people, it should be supported and it should be given a go-ahead. Even during UPA times, we have seen many much demands of like changes in the Waqf board should be made, and it has been done by the various prominent Muslim organizations only. So let's not see through the prism of, again, communalism. It should be as how we can improve the system better. And I think every opposition party should support this if this bill comes up.
So you've been listening to